Dear students, good morning. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 24th January 2018. The first article, Battleground Karnataka. Before going into the article, let us understand on what basis political parties mobilize the voters. One is caste, class, religion, region, etc. In different combinations, they use these to mobilize the voters. Class is a global phenomenon. Unlike this, caste is an Indian phenomenon. So communist parties which have believed in the class mobilization, they are losing significance in India. On the other hand, caste-based parties are increasing. So in these circumstances, why the caste-based parties have come into Indian scene only after 1970s? Because initially we believed that caste is a regressive phenomenon and the class is going to hold for the masses very soon. But it did not happen. It means that the caste identities are deeply entrenched in Indian society. And the second aspect over here is the class and elitism is developing among the caste rather than it is developing over the caste. I can put it as this way. Among the Dalits, a section of elite is developing and these are influencing the caste identities out over there. And third, among the upper castes, the conflict exists among the closely related castes. If you take Andhra Pradesh, Kammas and Reddys. So if you go to Uttar Pradesh, Jats and Yadavas. So like these, the closely related castes in their power structure, they have the power struggle in India. So in this, we have to see the Karnataka situation. There are two important castes over there, Vakkaliggas, Lingayats. So, Lingayats formed the power base for BJP before. Now, BJP is slowly moving towards Hindutva mobilization or religion-based mobilization. And second factor is Congress, on the other hand, it is trying to mobilize the people on the basis of social justice and also with regard to the protection of minorities. So, the Congress social base appears to be broad according to this particular author. And second factor we need to understand is in Karnataka, the religion-based mobilization did not work before compared to the caste-based mobilization. It means Hindu religion was further divided into castes for election mobilization. So, to what extent it will help the BJP is the question. But if you observe what BJP did in UP in beating BSP, the same strategy it might work out in Karnataka. So they have played with the elitism that has developed among the lower castes to take the lower classes in the lower castes onto their side. Simple example. The Mayawati's caste is stated to be the elitist caste among the Dalits and it wanted to separate that caste from the other castes. So this division among the lower caste consolidation has played way for it. So is that going to happen in the Karnataka too is a major question. On the other hand, you know that the BJP's biggest strength is election strategy. So booth level consolidation is what the BJP is expected to play with. These all are going to determine the election future in Karnataka. And second point which interesting here is the regional parties are slowly losing their significance in Indian political scenario. Once upon a time, Devagowda's Janata Dal secular was very popular in Karnataka and Vakkaliggas are its voter base. But its influence is decreasing day by day. So it means that is the era of national parties is coming to India back is the major question over here. Making our roads safe. The Motor Vehicles Bill 2017 will rectify systemic issues. You know there is a declaration that is called Brasilia Declaration. According to this, we have to reduce our road traffic fatalities by 50% by 2020. So what are we doing for this? The first is using of technology and strong rules. These are making a big difference. The Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill 2017, it clearly states that there has to be a unified license across the country. If a license is cancelled, it will be cancelled throughout the country. As of now, the drivers use licenses for different states, and in spite of cancelling one state, they can use the other state's driving license and continue. And second, the data management or automatic traffic monitoring systems. These are already in place in Kerala. These are going to be implemented throughout India. Third is child restraining systems and special child protection measures with regard to the road traffic management is concerned is given due emphasis. And reform with caution. So I have covered this topic effectively before. Let us go back to this Malimat Committee report. So the central government wants to implement the Malimat Committee report. So criminal justice system has many problems in India, but knee-jerk reactions to it is not the solution. What are the problems of criminal justice system? Delay in justice, corruption, and inadequate protection to the victims of crime, lack of protection to the witnesses. All these are leading to low conviction rates. And obviously people are losing confidence against the system because of this. So in this case, Malimat Committee has made certain recommendations to change this system. But however, there are two recommendations that are very controversial. One is admission of confession made before the police officer as an evidence in court of law. So if it is made possible, the police may use brutal force to gain the confession from a particular accused. And second aspect over here is the burden of the proof, the standard of proof, that is the prosecution has to prove beyond reasonable doubt for any accused to be branded as a culprit. Now, the Malimat Committee wants it to be diluted. So, if there is a clear evidence, that shall be sufficient. That's what Malimat Committee states. But these two provisions, these can lead to injustice to certain people. That's why we need to be very cautious in bringing in criminal justice reforms in India. And a risky recovery. What is about this? So, IMF has provided for World Economic Outlook report, and it has given a positive projection for global growth. In these circumstances, let us find how far this growth can be sustained. You know that the monetary policy was very liberal and it was used by the countries to boost the growth. It means they reduced the interest rates, they made the capital available liberally, and that has boosted the investments. And these investments have provided for the growth. But along with this, inflation will be a natural occurrence. When the inflation reaches a certain point, the central banks of different countries are forced to tighten the monetary policy. So this ultimately will lead to a loss of growth. So in the meanwhile, when the growth process is on, the governments have to take the structural reforms to fast pace the growth, development of infrastructure, providing for removing the bottlenecks related to exports. All these are the structural reforms they have to aim at. Now today, the growth is being optimistic because of the tax cuts in the United States of America. But to what extent these tax cuts will sustain if we take the debt burden it is going to create on that particular country. And second, the debt burden of the countries across the globe is all-time high. These two risk factors have to be taken into consideration. One is inflation, debt. So, unless structural reforms are being brought in, this growth cannot be sustained. Let's go to the next page. Growth has dipped below the 30-year average. Kaushik Basu's article. I am going to take certain important points from this. Demonetization and GST. These are stated to be the two reasons for the loss of growth in India. So demonetization states as a wrong policy, and GST is a wrongly implemented policy. So the second aspect is freedom of expression, openness, creativity. These are critical for any country to become economically prosperous. If you talk about Greece in the ancient India, after that UK through industrial revolution, USA through financial revolution, all these clearly show that Innovation has led to prosperity. So this innovation has come from the openness within the society. And third, digitalization cannot be brought in through one-step processes like demonetization. And it is a natural and evolving process, and it has to happen over years. That is what Kaushik Basu's article states. Now let's come to the first page. Padmavat order will not be recalled, declares Supreme Court. Let's understand that fundamental rights are given to the individuals, not the communities. So in this context, freedom of speech and expression is an individual right. So the fringe groups and mob force cannot intimidate a state towards curtailing the freedom of speech of individuals. That's what is the Supreme Court's opinion about this issue is. And is India becoming a less tolerant country? Or intolerance, is it prized in India? These are the questions that are coming up after this Padmavat incident. PM calls protectionism as dangerous as terrorism. So what has happened after LPG era? We need to agree for one thing. Globalization has created wealth across the countries, and emerging economies like India have most benefited from it. On the other hand, globalization also led to inequalities, but we cannot deny the fact that it has created the wealth. So today, America first, China first, these kind of things are leading to protectionist measures. Like this protectionism is going to take away the wealth from the poor and marginalized and can lead to starvation. So that's the reason why protectionism is as dangerous as terrorism and also the climate change. Here I can find the difference. Terrorism affects everyone equally, rich and poor. Climate change, protectionism, they are going to worst affect the poor when compared to rich. Next is, let's go to this article, what's wrong with Aadhaar use? Justice Chandrachud has questioned it this way. Aadhaar is going to, the data is going to be collected by the state. And already we are sharing data with the private agencies like Google, Apple, etc. So in a networked society, when we are sharing with the private agencies, why can't we share it with the government is the question. Here I want to express this opinion to you. So anywhere, state is being given authority to legitimately use the force against the citizens. In any private unit is using the force, it can be curtailed, questioned, and they don't have legitimacy. So the state's legitimacy to use the force makes the citizens to be afraid of the state if it is getting more powers. That can be the answer over here for his question. And then let's get into this. SAARC can learn from ASEAN experience. Now if you take ASEAN region, it has got widest diversity possible. And most of this diversity is on ethnic basis. If you take Myanmar itself, more than 200 ethnicities are living in Myanmar. So in this context, how ASEAN has become successful? What are the lessons we can learn? SAARC can learn from ASEAN. So the trust is the most important factor, and trust will not be there when a grouping is formed. It evolves over a period of time. It happens over a period of time. For this, regular meetings are essential. And SAARC forcing the trust as a precondition for meetings is not proper. Second aspect. With regard to the Myanmar, so the pragmatism of the ASEAN was clearly visible. At that point of time, Myanmar was ruled by military junta, and many of the countries have advised ASEAN not to take Myanmar inside. But ASEAN went forward integrating the Myanmar with ASEAN. Now it is showing a democratic transformation. And it means that you can influence a country by making it as a part of the group rather than keeping it out of the group. And third factor over here is the ASEAN, initially, whenever there was no trust, the countries, the smaller countries, were given greater role to play. So they have taken the ASEAN forward and bigger countries taking the back seat. With regard to SAARC, the major criticism is India is showing a big brother attitude. Why can't India give the leadership of SAARC to the smaller countries, taking itself the back seat? This is what suggestions which we can take for India. US tariffs anger Beijing Seoul. So US has imposed new tariffs to protect the solar industry. And solar panels which are being imported from China and Seoul, the tariffs are being raised onto them. So this is going to be taken to the WTO. We have to wait and see the outcomes. And finally, the note says given over here, which will be available to you at likes.in/CivilsPrep. Thank you very much and all the best.